Yo, this is Koski of Fun Day kicking it back for you and for yours. And this one right here, we still dealing with Black Europe. And a lot of people got concern saying, well, they were light skinned Arabs and they were basically of a light skinned progression or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Not dark black Africans, you know what I'm saying, that you rather see in West Africa and stuff like that. You know, many people forget that the Maghreb was basically just Northwest Africa, you know what I mean? And you got countries like Niger, Mauritania, where a lot of black people still reside today, even in Tunisia and Morocco and places like that. So we're going to break that down on this one, you know what I'm saying? Now, where I'm coming from is historical and literary views of Yusuf, the African conqueror of Spain, you know? So we're going to start on that one. Now, just a quick bit, that comes from Chicago Press, you know what I'm saying? So just a quick side on that one. Now, many people just don't know that the Africans had to save Spain twice. Black Africans, the Moors, had to come save Spain twice. This one talking about the second time they had to save Spain when the white Christians was getting very, very unruly and focusing all their hatred on them. And yes, it was hatred. You know what I'm saying? They used religious zeal and stuff like that, as we're later going to find out in later videos. Historical and literary views of Yusuf, African conqueror of Spain, by Miriam DeCosta. It was 1086. Yusuf Ibn Tashin, an African, defeated Alfonso VI of Castile in the Battle of Zakai, and thus initiated the Almoravids' occupation of the southern half of the Iberian Peninsula. With the conquest of Andalus, Muslim Spain, the Almoravid Empire extended to the basin of the Senegal River in Africa, to the Tuscaloosa River in Europe. All right, so we deep in the Senegal River. It had two kingdoms. We're going to talk about that in later events, you know what I'm saying, two headquarters capitals. The reign of the Almoravids in Spain was, however, short-lived. For the loss of Saragossa in 1118 ushered in a period of decline, which culminated in a series of popular rebellions in 1144 and defeated the African Muslims in 1145. Opinion about Almoravid rule is varied. Some scholars, including the foremost Hispanic and French eras, bemoan the Africanization of Spain, while others, primarily Arab and Jewish, speak of a golden age of letters under the Almoravids, who unified Muslim Spain in order to impose a warning on the order on the warring Arab caliphs. Much controversy surrounding the Almoravids is centered in their person of their leader, Yusuf Ibn Tashin, who was vividly portrayed in Arab, Latin, and Castilian chronicles of the 12th and 13th century, and who figured predominantly in Castilian epic poetry, including the 12th century Palma de Cid, as well as the Galician Portuguese lyric poetry such as Hacinas of Alfonso X of Castile. Much information about Yusuf is distorted, depending upon religious or political views of the chronicler. Thus, Spanish Catholics tend to minimize the importance of Yusuf, emphasizing instead his cruelty, intolerance, and his alleged ignorance or stupidity, and his persecution of non-Muslims, while Muslim writers exalt him as the savior of Andalus and tolerant. Deeply religious and pious man, it is difficult in the case of Yusuf to separate historical truth from literary fantasy. For a host of legends, humorous anecdotes, and bogus letters were later attributed to the African conqueror. The truth was further distorted by poets who were more concerned with dramatic effects and literary style than with historic facts. Over some 6 centuries, Arab scholars wrote many chronicles of the history of the Muslim occupation of Spain. However, students of Spanish medieval literature and history have to rely, for the most part, on translations and interpretations of these Arab works by early scholars such as Reinhard Gozer and Pascal Gonicos, and more recent, Amios Miranda. This area of Hispanic studies and the cultural contribution of Islamic Spain need to be studied, reevaluated, and reappraised in the prism of the modern scholarship without obvious overtones of racial, religious, and cultural prejudice, which distort the early interpretations of the period. Almoravid religious movement reached northwest African desert around 1039, when a young Aztec named Ibn Yasin converted nomadic Berber tribesmen of the Maghreb to a form of Islam which is dedicated to religious study and pious exercise. The followers of Ibn Yasin were called Almoravid, or the Arabic Rabbit, which means house of retreat, and which has come through Spanish and French to English as Almoravid. About the 11th century, the Almoravids undertook military conquest in North Africa, and when Abu Bakr became military leader, he marched with his troops deep into the southern lands of the Sudan, capturing Ghana, capital of the Great Black Empire. Meanwhile, Abu Bakr gave his cousin Yusuf command in the north. Yusuf consolidated the empire in the northern region and founded a new capital of Makrish in 1062. Now, I want to go back. Like I said, he captured and conquered Ghana. You know what I'm saying? That's one half of the empire. That's one consolidated kingdom. And it shows right here he gave the second half of his cousin command in the north, Yusuf, right? Where he established another capital, you know what I'm saying, in northern Africa. But let's see what happens. So we got one established capital already in Ghana, you know what I'm saying, of a black empire. Now he about to go on up. Berbers are black, by the way, you know what I'm saying, me, especially this tribe. In Spain, meanwhile, Arab kings, divided after the fall of the Abbasid Empire, began to quake under increased pressure, higher taxes, and religious persecution exerted on them by Alfonso VI, who united Castile and Leon, recaptured cities like Toledo, and even threatened southern cities like Cordova and Seville. In 1070, the Arab princes, persuaded by Almatin of Seville, appealed to their crown evangelist Yusuf to wage a holy war in Andalus. But the Almoravid leader was at that time otherwise preoccupied with expansion and consolidation of the North African Empire. When aid again was requested in 1082, Yusuf gave it serious consideration to the appeal, and in 1086, finally sailed to Spain with several thousand troops and soundly defeated Alfonso in the Battle of Zanacana. After his first victory, Yusuf returned to Africa, leaving 3,000 of his men in Spain. But in 1090, returned to Spain, and again at the request of Amara of Seville, and he and Alfonso contended for the city of Abedo. Yusuf had now become supreme head of the Almoravids with the death of his cousin Abu Bakr in 1087. He received the support of the common people who resented the repressive rule of their Arab kings, as well as the censors of Maronite jurists who openly criticized the political corruption and the moral decay of the Andalusian courts. Yusuf had decided to continue Andalus under his rule, captured Granada in 1090 and Cordova in 1091, laid siege to Seville, which eventually surrendered to him by Almoravid, and occupied Badajoz in 1090, and Valencia in 1102. According to Almagarki, Yusuf died in the year 500 in the month of Saram, which is September 1106 AD, leaving his son Ali as his successor. The preceding accounts of Yusuf's conquest of Muslim Spain is recorded by early chronicles, Christian and Muslim alike. However, history was soon distorted according to the dialectic end of the writer. Arab chronicles, of course, expounded upon length about his conquests and the victories of the Almoravids, while Catholic historians gave scant attention to the period when the Muslims assumed military initiative on the peninsula. However, Dozin unjustly concludes that almost all of Muslim history was converted to legend. As an example of this, he cites histories of Yusuf Ibn Tashin, in which facts are mixed with legends. The truth is with commentaries and the genuine with the superlatives. They contain marvelous revelations, dreams, miracles, false letters, adulterated poems, discourse, and assumed dialogues, which offered a huge game of ancient Oriental wisdom to incite the bellicose zeal of the Muslims and disturb their hatred for the Christians. It is obvious that when those who speak of the bellicose zeal of the Muslims and their hatred for the Christians, that they know Arabic allows his personal prejudice to color his historical judgments. Though he correctly concludes that the legends assumed occurred with the history of Yusuf, he fails to point out that these originate both Muslims and Christians. One such legend is the Arab Caliphates is certain stipulations before they allow Yusuf to enter the country because they regard him with help for Yusuf as a mixed blessing. They are aware of the risk that they were taking in appealing to an ambitious man whose empire they already converted most of Northwest Africa. But they reportedly concluded that it is better to cast a fate to a fellow Muslim than to a Christian pig such as Alfonso. However, they demanded in a series of letters of dubious authenticity that Yusuf should return to Africa once he had defeated Alfonso. Yusuf is reported to answer with a kind of stipulation that the Algiers be given to him as a base of operation for his march into Spain. Much of the kind of battle, particularly of length, details the account which exaggerate the number and the valor of one side or the other, probably based on fancy other than the fact. There is an interesting account, for example, of the role of the Black Guard in the Battle of Temizum. Yusuf landed in Spain with several thousand troops according to one source, and 50,000 according to another. His regime included a group of 4,000 black soldiers. The Spanish, although greatly outnumbered the Africans, were fighting by the noise of the drum while their horses reared at the sight of the African camels. Finally, Yusuf summoned his own bodyguard, composed of black slaves, with their short spears azab and their shields covered with hippopotamus hide. He directed them to dismount and join the fight, which they did with awful execution, cutting horses' troughs and spearing their riders when on the ground, and throwing the confusion into the enemy ranks. In the middle of the conflict, Alfonso attacked, sword in hand. A black slave who had spent all his javelins had aimed at his head, but the black avoided the blow, and creeping under Alfonso's horse, seized the animal by the bridle, and then taking the jammer out which he wore in his bridle, and wounded the Christian king in the thigh. The instruments piercing both armor and flesh, pinning Alfonso to his horse's saddle. Alfonso was supposed to have commented afterwards. A black slave reached me and wounded me in the thigh with a scathe, which made my blood flow. Although this particular incident may be legendary, it is true that a large number of blacks, mulattoes, and Jews fought in the Almoravid ranks. It appears likely that Yusuf, like other Berbers of the Maghreb, was racially mixed. He is described by Ibn Fazi in History of the Rulers of the Maghreb as follows. Here's a portrait of Yusuf, brown complexion, medium build, lean, slight beard, soft voice, black eyes, aquiline nose, Mohammedan locks falling to the tip of his ear, eyebrows joined together, woolly hair. Yusuf was born in Lamini, a small town in the Sudan near Ghana, which now disappeared, but it later been near Almark or Timbuktu, the capital of the Black nation. Ibn al-Azhari also pointed out that the mother of Yusuf's cousin Abakar was Safar, a free woman of Dindalala. Both her name and the fact that the chroniclers felt necessary to emphasize that she's a free woman suggested that she was of black or mixed ancestry. It's ironic to note that Abakar, who conquered Ghana in 1072, was later killed by a black Sudanese soldier. The various tribes of the Sudan waged conscious warfare to extend their territory and to capture slaves. Yusuf also attained slaves through warfare. The writer Al-Hoan notes, for example, that among the riches that Yusuf had sent his cousin Al-Rakan were 20 virgin slaves and 150 male slaves, while Yusuf himself kept a certain number of black slaves, He also sent some to Andalus to buy a number of foreign slaves, probably white, whom he gave saddles. He finally had 250 horsemen brought with his money, and some 2,000 blacks whom he also gave horses. In this way, he strengthened his guard and increased his power. Other legendary elements include two yachts of Yusuf from the Arab kings and the king of the dream that King Alfonso had about elephants before his battle. A romantic story about Alfonso in the Moor Zanara, said to be the daughter of Almoravid, but actually the widow of his son, as well as numerous quotes of anecdotes attributed to Yusuf. Many Arabs, particularly Mamluk jurists, were anxious to present Yusuf as a defender of Islam, a pious religious man. So Yusuf is reported to have said to his men upon landing on Spanish soil, "We have come here to save Islam, and we will fight, and we will have to fight against a formidable enemy. Those of you who are afraid are free to return home." While later, when he dined in the sumptuous palace of the civilian king, Yusuf, who lived a modest life, looked disdainfully upon the opulence of the court and commented that such vanity wins no battles. According to Al-Malakari, Yusuf refused any of the plunders of his battles, saying, "I am not from this country for the sake of plunder. I came for no purpose other than waging war against the infidel." The Chronicle of Ali Hulala maintains Yusuf was a virtuous, good, pious, intelligent, skillful, enterprising, and magnanimous man, inclined towards good and justice, and very fearful of God. While the author of the Almoravid concludes, Ibn Tashin was a wise and shrewd man. He was neither too prompt in his determinations nor too slow in carrying them into effect. And as he passed the greater part of his life in a native desert, exposed to hunger and privation, he had no taste for the life of pleasure and enjoyment, which was recommended to him. Other accounts are not so generous. According to some, Yusuf was a cruel barbarian who retaliated quickly against his enemies. One legend indicates that Yusuf decapitated 1,000 of fallen Spaniards after the Battle of Zakana, and all the bodies piled in huge mounds where they rotted in the caves for days and weeks as a testimony to his great victory. He supposedly sent a shipload of bodies back to North Africa, where rotting flesh would attest to their courage, prowess, and invincibility of the Almoravid forces. Despite this anecdote, which used to underscore Yusuf's cruelty, there were others which pointed up and supposed his ignorance. For example, one Spanish Arab writer and many Arab poets who prided themselves on the elegance and manners of refined culture looked contemptuously upon the unlettered desert people who took over their country. Says that Yusuf was ignorant and cruel. Once the Arab poet sang the praises of Yusuf, and the onlooker asked the Almoravid if he understood the poem. Yusuf responded, "No, by my soul, uses it be, that they may ask for bread." The same writer relates that Al-Matin sent Yusuf a flowery letter containing such districts: "Thou art gone, and my sides shake for thee. And now, and the water of our desert has dried up. Thy departure has changed in our nights into days, the obscurity which only thy presence can dissipate." When the verses were read to Yusuf, he claimed, "What does he ask for? Does he not say that he wants to send him back of black and white slave girls?" By way of explanation, another Arab writer maintains that Yusuf was endowed with clear understanding and much wit, but that he did not understand the Arabic language. Opinions about Yusuf did not always follow along religious lines. As for example, the ridicule of Yusuf by fellow Muslims indicates. Similarly, Christians occasionally gave unbiased and perhaps favorable accounts of Yusuf. The premier Conqueror, for example, besides giving a short and largely factual, partly erroneous account of Yusuf's victories in Spain, lost the Almoravids, who were noblemen and the finest horsemen that the Moors had, and whose king was lord with great host of knights, so many that no other Moroccan lord has ever had so many nor such good knights of armor as he. His name, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin, and to honor him as the greatest lord, they called Miriam in Arabic language, which means lords of other lords in Spanish. The chronicle concluded that Yusuf defended his land and his towns well and governed his people justly. Alfonso X does not reveal the source of his information, stated only in the history relates, and later, as history speaks of him, Yusuf, but it appears likely, as Barat theorized, that the PCG is based at least partly on Arabic sources because Yusuf is viewed so favorably by the historian. The events with Yusuf relates were narrated early in the same early century by an anonymous poet of Almoravid Dynasty, the apology of the Hispanic epic poetry. As Menendez Peter points out, the Spanish epic poem, in contrast with other European epic poems, is notable because of his historicity. As far as Yusuf is concerned, the poem treats the Battle of Valencia, since the city was captured from the Moors by Rajo Dia Elvira in 1094, and was finally recaptured at 3 year siege by Yusuf 1102. However, there comes some confusion in the poem of fact or fiction. First of all, Cid never defeated Yusuf at Valencia, where Cid died in 1099. For some 3 years before Valencia was taken by Yusuf. Thus, the poet described the vivid colors of the battle, which did take place, but without Yusuf as one of the principal participants. The poet speaks of Yusuf, the Moroccan king, who was upset. For in lands that is mine, he has trespassed bravely, and give thanks for it to no one save Jesus Christ. So Yusuf sailed from Morocco with 50,000 troops and non-believers, raised their tents before Valencia. The tents are pitched, and at the dawn comes with the quickening stroke, the Moors beat on the drum. The El Cid ladies were frightened by the great noise of the drum, and the Chronicle of the PCG also notes, and the Moors began to pitch their tents around Valencia, beating drums and making a great noise. And when the ladies saw this, they were terribly afraid, like women who never seen such a thing. According to the poet, the Almoravids were worthy adversaries of the Spanish. The Moors of Morocco ride out boldly without fear, have entered the fireland. However, the Cid's men, who had great courage, charged out of the city, destroying the Muslims and killing some 500 men. The next day, the Cid, leading an army of 39,770 soldiers, attacked his 50,000 adversary and killing so many Moors that blood covered his arms up to the elbow. Yusuf finally fled. He was struck, King Yusuf, with 3 blows. Yusuf escaped from the sword, for hard he rode with his horses to the shelter of Taharka, a noble castle. And of the 50,000 Moorish soldiers, only 104 escaped. Thus, the poet has reshaped history to conform with his purpose, the exaltation of Ricardo as a great warrior, loyal Castilian, and a defender of the church. Despite his aim, however, the poet acknowledged the awesome power of the Moorish soldiers, whose leader Yusuf was finally forced to take a rational, if somewhat cowardly, retreat. In another epic poem, La Marana Zadaya, which is now lost, which has been reconstructed in prose from medieval chronicles by Rosa Castillo, deals with Yusuf like the Cid. The poem praises the Almoravids, who were all noble men, not gentlemen, noble men, and the best warriors that the Moors had. The poet said that there was no gentleman of Morocco, and so had many so good knights as the king called Yusuf Ibn Tashfin. The Zion departs, giving greater from historical truth than did Cid. The poet stated Alfonso VI, not Almoravid, asked the Almoravids to come to Spain, and that Yusuf sent one of his generals, Ali, whom the Almoravids proclaimed their king. At this point, Alfonso marched against the Moors and met Yusuf at Cordova. But Yusuf did not dare fight because his forces were so greatly outnumbered. Instead, he offered peace and a large tribute from lands which was held in Spain. Finally, the Moorish king was defeated and made a vassal of King Alfonso. Then the Miriam returned to Morocco. As long as Don Alfonso lived, he dared never to come to Spain. While the Zana and the Palmamicid and the Palma Chronicle General all acknowledged the might of the Almoravid army, its effectiveness in battle, and the fear which inspired its enemies, another word, the Galician Portuguese colonists also contributed to Alfonso X, emphasis the religious difference between the Muslims and the Christians. Viewing the various battles within the context of a holy war, a religious crusade on behalf of the Virgin Mary. Constantine 881, for instance, entitled, "This is how Abu Yusuf was defeated in Morocco by the power of Saint Mary," begins, "The glorious Virgin performed this famous miracle in the city of Morocco, which is large and beautiful for a king who was then ruler, and who needed help because he was engaged in a dangerous war with another. And ends with the defeat of the Moors by the Christians, who were miraculously aided by the Virgin. In the Constitutions, the Almoravids are presented as barbarian infidels, little more than robbers, who plundered towns, laid waste the villages, and destroyed the Virgin churches, sacking the altars, stealing the holy icons. The threat to the Christian faith is remembered in the Canatina in 169, where the poet speaks of many Moors who overtook the land through our fault. The worst part of the invasion was the Muslims neither destroyed Christian churches or converted them to mosques. Finally, Yusuf arrived. Afterwards, Abu Yusuf, the Lord of the Sports, advanced with many men. It is true the Moors guarded the church to exalt their faith, but Mary defeated the army and delivered her church from the followers of Muhammad. Casadena 2:15 describes in more detail the devastation of Spain by the Muslim hordes. It is because the Christians were not prepared. Yusuf came with many bearded Moors to steal and overran their villages and castles and destroyed many churches. To our great shame, they took away our bells, robbed the altars, and then the crucifix, laid waste to the church of the Saint Virgin Mary, and carried all of her images away from our palaces. This partial examination of various literal and historical accounts of Yusuf's invasion of Spain leads to some rather obvious conclusion. First of all, the accounts are conflicting, and any assessment of their merits must be taken into consideration. 1. When were the events recorded? 2. Who recorded them? 3. What writers' religious or political views were? And 4. What was the purpose to seem to motivate him? There are some facts that can be shifted from the majority of the accounts. Yusuf consolidated his empire in Africa, then invaded Spain in 1086 at the behest of Spanish Muslims. After defeating Alfonso Zakar in a brief return to Africa, he resumed the conquest of southern Spain, defeating both Christians and Muslims and unifying Andalus under his rule. Yusuf soon became somewhat of a folk hero. His deeds are recorded by Arab poets and praised with singing among wandering minstrels. However, with the defeat of the Almoravids and the Almoravids in the 12th century and the re-emergence of Christian Spain as a form of religious, military, and political power, Islamic culture was eclipsed. The early 13th century Renaissance of Hispanic letters under Alfonso the Wise found scholars, Christian, Moorish, and Jewish, rewriting history, translating and glossing Arabic and Latin texts. Perhaps much was lost in translation. At any rate, the facts were reshaped so that Alfonso, who defeated Yusuf, and a pious Yusuf became a religious fanatic, while a conquering army was converting into a band of marauders and thieves. It is possible to find 4 distinct views among various historian and literary accounts. 1, that the Muslim, Moorish or Almoravid writers were sympathetic to Yusuf. 2, that the Arabic intellectual entities who ridiculed the cruel manners and rustic ways of the North Africans. 3, that the Spanish chroniclers and poets who praised the Almoravids, but who tampered, perhaps unknowingly, with the facts. And 4, that the Spanish religious conservatives who denigrated the Almoravids, branding them as infidels and unbelievers. Unfortunately, it is the last view which has bequeathed to European scholarship. So the Europeans go with the Spanish religious conservatives who denigrate the Almoravids, branding them as infidels and non-believers. So that's how it goes. But this guy right here, like I said, he saved, like Taharka back in, back in ancient Egypt, who tried to save the Egyptians, gave one more ambassador, son in the glory, who was the African king from Nubia. It's the same thing dealing here with Moorish Spain, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin. He was the last king to give it his really shining glory. He was basically Taharka of Moorish Spain. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got to say about this brother. He come from Sudan. As I said before, they try to say he's mixed, but he's black. That mixed thing was kind of a reach, I thought. You know what I'm saying? But he's black. They still got it. They're still kind of dealing with that over there. This black guy came and saved it all and stuff like that, and gave it his last basking blow to stop the reconstitution or the Reconquista of Spain under the Christians. It's from what I was reading, I read a couple more stuff about this. It's a famous movie out there where I guess Yusuf is played by a white guy. It's an old movie from Hollywood. And Charlton Heston plays El Cid. You know what I'm saying? And like they said, they never met in battle, but they took the chronicle to boost the racial and the religious stuff. They had a beaten battle where Cid won. But like I said before, Cid was already dead, you know what I'm saying, when he took the city. So they never really met in battle. Anyway, also too, I want y'all to make sure y'all know for future references, during this time, it was 2 different Moorish empires, one in Senegal and one in Spain. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? They don't talk about this. We don't hear much about the one in Senegal that his cousin had. We don't hear much about it, but there's information out there about it, though. You know what I'm saying? It was known as 2 spots they had. Anyway, man, it's a Koski, a fun day. Much love to you and yours. Hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? Share this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Get it on out there. Donate to the movement too, homeboy. Got to do that. You know what I'm saying? Hit that Koski Cash App. Peace and much love.